Hi. So it's a great pleasure to be here today to tell you a little bit about my journey from being an engineer and becoming an entrepreneur. So some words short about me. So I'm Maria Pennanen. I'm a business angel. I'm also an author. I wrote a book, How to Fuck Up Your Startup. I'm obviously an engineer. I studied also and did an MBA, and my latest degree was in organizational psychology. So I could say that I'm a bit of a learning freak. I'm certainly a very curious person. And the rest of the things, why I spoke about them, you will find out during this talk. So today we will talk about my journey. So I did an engineering degree in Swedish-speaking university in Finland called Åbo Academy. And I don't think I really ever planned my career, but it started as a normal, I would say, doing my thesis work for university, for technical university. And then my professor suggested that I would continue doing the research and do a PhD. So I went to Switzerland and started, studying the little particles, how they pack and everything. And I have to say it was relatively boring. And I realized that this is not something that I would want to offer, put online 4 years of my life and, to do with a PhD. So I was headed to another company in Denmark in the same field, but I got to work well with clients, with technical service, and it was much more fun. I enjoyed it. I liked the company culture in that family-owned business. So it was quite nice, but because of personal reasons, I did want to move back to Finland and was then headhunted to another company who did that. So I worked for this chemical company, very similar to many other chemical companies, for about almost 8 years in different kind of positions. I was based also in southern France in the beginning when I was doing my technical work, and I have to say I loved it. I really loved the culture, and there again I picked up a new language. So I had studied French in university, but for me languages were always more about getting along with people, communication. So I did also take some lessons while I was in France. So I picked up this language, and I have to say I love the language, I love the culture. And then my company moved me to Germany. So a new language, a new culture. But I have to say I always enjoyed the people that I work with. But over time, I started thinking that things were not moving very fast, and everything was always the same. And I was wondering if this was really, what I wanted to do. And I was actually considering taking a sabbatical. I had just completed my, my scuba diving instructor course, and I wanted to take half a year off and, go scuba diving and try to set up a business in that field in Asia. Naturally, my German boss was anything but thrilled about it and said, you can't really think of making a career in this company and wanting to become, a scuba diver, school instructor. So I laid that on ice, and while I was thinking about it, I was actually headhunted to a Finnish company, and so I took it, and I was interested about it. Why? Also because it was, I had never worked for a Finnish company, although I'm a Finn, and it was a bit smaller company, so I thought that, and I would have great opportunities to do different kinds of things. So one of my first tasks was actually to lay down the French operation. It was unfortunate that this decision had been made already before I joined, that the German business would survive and the French would be laid down. So I had to deal with these kind of organizational issues. And also I had my own team, and really fast realized that there were some very serious, let's say, behavioral issues in that organization that came because of power vacuums and this kind of stuff. So I came into contact then first time in this kind of using behavior style analysis and understanding people's behavior and what motivates them. And I really liked the approach that I was using with actually he was my personal coach who came to facilitate the team meeting. And something of that stayed with me. And I realized that how important it would be for me to understand the behavior of people better. Since I was a very typical engineer, I think I thought of everything in tasks, and empathy was something that I really didn't know what it meant or why it existed. So I was offered, to move to Asia with the company, since my career path was laid out, and I would become the senior vice president in a couple of years. So, but I had to go to Asia before that. And during that time also, I was told that I should do some kind of leadership training. So I already had, of course, my master's degree in engineering. I had an MBA, and I was thinking, okay, so I don't need another MBA, but I really would love to understand people better. And, as they say, that when the student is ready, the teacher will come. So I found this program at INSEAD in France, in Fontainebleau, called Coaching for Change and Challenge. And when I read about it, I was like, this is exactly what I need. How to learn to understand what motivates people and how to understand your own behavior and its impact on others. So I met with the professor. I really thought this is something I need to do. So my company agreed to pay for it. And even though I was moving to Asia, they paid, for my trips to Europe to attend on the program, which I was very grateful for. So I sit there the first day, and next to a quite older looking gentleman. Later I found out he was actually 76, but but I knew he was older, and I was thinking, cool. He was old CEO of a mining company. And then they, as I said, started to talk about empathy. And I said, what is this all about? We were looking at each other, and I said, you are crazy enough to pay for this yourself. So anyway, obviously, I learned over time that this is a very useful skill. And I think for me, the biggest highlight was when I realized the difference between empathy and sympathy. And somehow I had always thought it's the same. But empathy, of course, doesn't mean that you have to agree with the other person. It means that you have to give them the right to feel and think the way they do about things. You don't have to agree, but you can understand, okay, this is how and this is why they think this way. So during this program, we were also told that, by the way, 80% of you are going to leave your current company within 2 years. And I thought, this is, I have everything I need. I'm on a great career path in my company, and I'm so happy and content. But of course, when you start, when I started digging deeper, I realized that what actually I did want to do was still not going to happen. I felt like many of these kind of organizational structure things and hierarchies and communication was really not very open, not certainly not psychologically safe in this organization. And I realized that, as you could guess, that when the 2 years was over, I was also out from my company. And I think all of these, when I think about the corporate life, I had enjoyed being part of a team. Had great people to work with, and that was the good thing about it. But there were issues with corporate culture that I could not affect. Even though I was very high up. And then I also realized that there was no feedback culture. That you didn't get any feedback of what you were doing, or not in real time. And I thought that would be something very important for you to understand how you're doing. You need that kind of feedback. So I became an entrepreneur, and in the beginning, I was helping small medium-sized companies. I was helping startups to get financing. Helping them to improve their story. And I really enjoyed it. I really realized that this is something, that we have so much to give. And especially when we think about also how they communicate, how they tell their story, how they read other people, how their behavior is perceived by others. And so 2016, the Accelerator Frankfurt was founded. And before that, I had already started investing in startups. And some years later, when COVID started, 2020, of course, all everything was halted and there was no activities. And I also realized that we had very few female founders in our program, that we should really focus on that. So we set up the Female Founder online program, and the purpose, helping them to network, finding the understanding that it's not crazy to be an entrepreneur, and how to reach out to people, how to tell a good story, how to find funding. So that was like I would say in the path that I took. And obviously, I did found myself also a couple of companies. So sometimes I joke that I don't know if I'm a serial entrepreneur or serial failure. Since I had one company in fintech, it didn't run because of the my machine learning algorithm we were using. We didn't get enough data to build the model. And the second company was a fashion tech company where we relied too much on outside tech to bring it to market. And then now I would say I founded 2020 also during the COVID, my company Mindclick Behavior, where the purpose is really to help teams communicate better, understand each other's behavior, and build this kind of culture that is open and psychologically safe. And for that, you really need to be good at, giving feedback and understanding how your behavior is perceived by others. So what we do in practice is that we do, of course, workshop for companies, in this field of, how to give better feedback, how to, improve the corporate culture, and, very interactively, working together. And what I also do is, which is very close to my heart, I help females. So I have a program called Empowered Females, Empowered Women, actually. And there, the purpose is to really help people understand how your behavior is perceived by other people, and if you are, in a way, your biggest obstacle in moving your career forward, or whatever ambitions you have in life. And so that is what I do. And maybe sometimes people ask me, so what is it that why do people come to me? So I would say people come to me when they maybe feel stuck in their life or in their career, and they're wondering why are they not making any progress. Or people want to set up their company and they are wondering if that's the right thing for them, or maybe they even already have a company and they're wondering, how can they improve their sales, or these kind of things. But it mainly has to do with, understanding your behavior, how it's perceived by other people. So this was my part. I would be happy to, respond to any kind of questions you have. You can always also send me an email, contact me via LinkedIn, or via follow me on Instagram. I also post stuff there. Our YouTube channel, mindclip.com, Mindclip Behavior is on YouTube. So thank you.